With concussions and concerns around CTE making waves throughout other sports, violent wrecks like Darrell Waltrip's at Daytona are under closer scrutiny and safety protocols.
I'm lucky that I got through it the way I did without any more injury than I had. And so it's kind of fun to look at it now and say, wow, I can't believe that happened, or wow, I can't believe I survived that. But when you see a race car tumbling, in the cars today, the way the drivers are locked into the seats, Hans device head and everything, they're not getting thrown around like I was in this car. And so those violent looking, rolling, crashing, tumbling, they look crazy on TV, but they hurt you the least, actually. I don't know how many concussions I had. I never even thought about it. I never did. I hear Terry Bradshaw or people that play football or even drivers, and they talk about, well, I've had this many concussions, I've had this many concussions. And I really thought, well, I've never had one. Then I started thinking, no, maybe I have had one. Maybe there was one, and maybe that was one, and that was probably one, and I'm pretty sure that was one. And
yeah,
first thing you know,
the time you think you had.
First thing you know, you add it all up, and you say, man, I had a lot of concussions. Mm-hmm. We didn't have concussion protocol like we have now. If we had I wouldn't have gotten to race several races. Davey Allison, I remember when he flipped at Pocono. Ricky Rudd at Daytona. You look back at some of those really violent crashes, and those guys were concussed and they didn't even know it.
Earlier this year, Dale Earnhardt Jr. made an announcement that he would donate his brain to science, further drawing attention to the long-term damage of concussions in sports.
I will be donating my brain, or pledging my brain is what they like to say, to the Concussion Legacy Foundation. It was something that I didn't have to ask myself whether I wanted to do it or not. Going through that process in 2012, I learned so much and have so much respect for the work that those doctors are doing, and really was inspired by some of the athletes that have pledged their brains before me.
Well, I never thought about donating my brain to science necessarily, but I just think it's amazing. These drivers today, they can take tests in their normal condition, and then if they have an accident, they go back and test them again to see where they are, see if they are concussed, and if they do need to set out a race or two.
From 1983, huge crash at Daytona, knocked out. A couple years later, Richmond, Dale Earnhardt turns him into the outside guardrail at Richmond. Yeah. And I remember you could barely breathe then. Yeah. You hit so hard, and people think, well, short track, it can't hurt you. And I remember that right there stove him up. Bristol, Jeffrey Bodine turned him around, backed him into the wall at Bristol one time. Same kind of deal right there, rung his bell there. You come back, Talladega, him and Phil Parsons crashed there. Yeah. It was a 1983 crash in a Pepsi car. Pepsis weren't too good of cars. But I go through all these crashes, it all of a sudden starts to add up. I mean, we started talking about doing this interview. I sat down and got kind of like started doing a review, and it's like, wow, all these crashes, and yet you never quit.
Once you've had a few accidents and you're digging, and you feel that thing get off on that right rear a little bit, and you feel that thing starting to get loose, you have flashbacks. Oh my God, am I gonna crash? Am I gonna roll? Am I gonna hit the wall? Is somebody gonna run over me? You kind of got two choices. You can drive through it, or you can lift. And as time goes by, you pretty much have a tendency to lift.